Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been with me since the very beginning of the channel, you may have seen quite a long time ago, I definitely know some of you have watched it, I did a very basic strength and conditioning video, just addressing some just really bare basics. And yeah, many years ago I posted that, and well, I thought I'd give it a bit of an update because I've learned a lot since then on quite a few different topics, but also specifically in terms of my preparation for taking the Godan exam. I really made an effort to ramp up my training, especially in terms of just overall strength, conditioning, fundamental cardio. This is in addition to my regular Kendo training, and strong focus on extra sabaki practice, so extra footwork. Anyway, so I thought I'd get into some of the details and just give you a quick rundown of like what it looks like today. I'm going to cite a few different sources as well, just some kind of general guidelines and who I've picked them up from. I tend to do a lot of research here on YouTube as well. So yeah, I'll discuss a little bit about, why I perform an exercises the way I do, and what the principles are behind that, and cite my source as to who's guided me in terms of making a decision to do it that way, and hopefully it will bring some benefit to you. Okay, so usually what happens is I do a lot of just the basic strength training just in the house. I don't have time to go off to the gym. 3 young kids in the house, very busy. It's very difficult to fit time in. We're constantly like just washing machines going all the time, washing dishes, cleaning kitchen, walking the dogs. I get up, just to give you a rundown of my day, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I start work at 5 a.m. I usually work through until midday or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Once I finish there, I've got to rush over across town, pick up my kids from school or daycare or both, and then get them home. I've got them for the afternoon. Then I've got to get them through dinner time until my wife gets home. She's currently on maternity leave, but once she goes back to work, this is the normal way the day works. Once the dinner's finished, then they get a bit of playtime, do homework, that kind of thing. Then we get them bathed, ready for bed, story time, they go to bed. And if I get a chance, then I'll try and take the dogs out if they haven't been out. And sometimes at that point, I might go, I decide, usually if it's like a day in the middle of the week between my 2 Kendo sessions in the middle, I'll take them for a run, because that'll give me an opportunity to go for a bit of jog with them. And that helps just with the basic underlying cardio. I don't do a ton of cardio because I get plenty of practice in the dojo with elevated heart rate and high intensity kind of breathing and that kind of thing. But just some basic underlying fundamental cardio, because it is a little bit different to what we do in Kendo. And it's a little bit of training, extra training for the legs anyway, but I do want to minimize impact on my knees, so I don't do an awful lot of it. I used to run a lot when I was younger, a lot of long distance stuff. So nothing nearly that extreme, just, run down to the park and run them back, that kind of thing. But it gives them a chance to get some proper exercise rather than just going out for a walk. So once that's done, then, it's just like cleaning up around the house and head to bed. And if I'm lucky, I get to bed for about 11 o'clock at night, and then I'm up at 4:30 in the morning again. I don't recommend that you do it this way. It's just what we're dealing with at the moment in the house, so that's how I've got to make it stick. In those evening times where I'm cleaning up the house, doing dishes, cleaning around the kitchen, that sort of thing, that's when I usually do a bit of resistance training, whether that's bodyweight training or free weights with dumbbells, something like that. So I'll get into the particulars as we go through it. This is one afternoon where I was able to get a little bit of early time off of work, a bit of flexi time to go home early. So what I'll usually do is just duck in the dojo, do some quick Suburi, kind of something in the realms of what I showed in my kind of everyday basic Suburi video. I'll link that right here. Very popular video as well, seems to have helped a lot of people, so glad to hear that. But generally following those sort of principles, with a very strong, for myself, for my level, very strong focus on tame, this chambering of the back leg and the readiness of the kamae, of the Chudan. So yeah, so I'll run through the Suburi. It's around about those numbers, but the specifics of the Suburi will vary depending on what I'm doing on the day. And then I'll go into some footwork practice in different sorts of combinations. So we'll get started. I'm just going to grab shinai and I'll get cracking. So because the emphasis on this particular type of training for me is about the conditioning and the basic strength, I tend to do both Chudan Suburi and Godan Suburi. So it'll be some sort of simple setup, say 20 shomen, 20 kote, 20 do in a sort of sankyu-do format, so 3 steps. So just Chudan, cut, return to Chudan. That kind of a setup, say for example to start off with 20 kote men, renzoku waza, just men back and forward. Usually I'll probably do yoko men practice at that point, mawari suburi, and just finish up with some high suburi, maybe like 20 or 30 mawari suburi, maybe 2 sets of that, and 30 high suburi, something like that. But then I'll replicate that exact same format, give or take, in Godan as well, just because it's something that I choose to do for my Godan practice. Is obviously I want to keep the back leg on the opposite side. I want to keep that strong and develop it and try to get it to the same standard as my left leg would be in Chudan. Not quite there yet, but I'm going for it. Yeah, being strict on myself. Okay, so once I'm done with the Suburi, then I'll start moving on to the sabaki practice, the footwork practice. And this is the crux of this session for me. Okay, so the Suburi is meant to be basic and light, but reasonably strict on form and strict on kamae. I really want to build tame in my kendo and make that as central a component at this level as I was trying to make Kikentai no Ichi up to this level. It's really important for the level I'm trying to grade for. All the feedback I got from the sensei was that they were looking for this sense of tame, both the physical manifestation of it, but also the mental preparedness that allows you to use it. So yeah, if you don't know what tame is, I'll link my video that I made about it just over here. You can pop over and go and see that. But if you go on to Kenshi 247 or the Kendo.net by Jeff Salmon, there's a couple of articles that talk about tame there, and you'll find numerous ones online. It's a difficult concept to grasp, but it's basically this preparedness of your kamae. You're not just standing in a nice shape, you're able to deploy attacks at will from that position. It's optimized, it's charged, it's ready. And it's a state of tension that exists between the two players. That's something that is also seldom brought up. It's usually just people talking about maybe the physical aspect. But when you read the high grades, what they have to say about it, there's this tension that exists between the two players engaging in seme. And it's being able to let everything go all at once when that tension is ready to break, so you can attack at the right opportunity, if that makes sense. Okay, so we'll get into the first footwork exercise. It's really simple stuff. I'm fortunate enough I can use our dojo on days off, but if you don't have something like this, you could use a squash court. Just use what you've got to the best of your ability. You don't have to do it with a shinai. You can just do it with empty hands. That might help you. Maybe you can do it in the backyard that way if you're worried about swinging a sword about in the backyard and, you know, like a shinai, grabbing attention for the wrong reasons, whatever the case. Just know that the shinai is a little less important now. What's important is the shape, the form of the body, the balance, and the footwork. Do it vigorously, really drive off the back leg, and so the fumikiri, driving off the back leg, the hiketsuke, bringing the back leg up sharply, and of course the fumikomi should result, you know, the sort of explosiveness should result if you're tying this together with kik and tai no ichi. So that's what we're going to aim for. So it's just seme, men, oikomi, basically, all the way down to dojo, all the way back 5 times. And I do this in Chudan and Jodan. Couple things I'm keeping my eye on. So when I turn around to make the next cut, I want to not fidget. Make that one clean semi step. Can actually do this without the semi step. Now that I think about it, I've done that variation before. Where you just turn around, try to be in kamae instantly, and just go from there. Kind of like you would for when you're doing kakari keiko. Except in kakari keiko, you have very little time to pay attention to your form. So that's one thing. Another thing is, as a strike lands, don't let it kind of gradually die and slow down. Instead, try to accelerate on the hit, if that makes sense. And you want to get this back leg like just pulling up. So that's what I'm aiming for. So do that, as I said, in Jodan and Chudan. I'll do it again, just 3 times, but without the semi step, so you can see what I mean. It's about getting this back leg turned around and already in kamae, so you can go straight away. So it becomes kamae, kamae, And usually at this point, I'll do the same thing for kote men. And then the same in Jodan. It's very important to practice. Oden Soku was from Jodan. So from this point, I usually do some variation. Sometimes I might spend some time just doing isolated Fumikomi. Like you'll see this video, I'll link that in the description as well, of Tashiro Sensei demonstrating his Fumikomi exercises. Sumi Sensei also talks about some exercises you can do to develop your Fumikomi. So I usually like to do one or both of those depending on time. A little short on time today, so I'll just show you one run of each. So most people have done this one, as Sumi Sensei talks about. So understand? Okay. But because I play Godan, I'll do it both sides. Okay. Before doing that, make sure your hamstrings are well and truly warmed up. If you don't, there's a good chance you're going to pull them, or at least strain them. Okay, can't emphasize that enough. So, Tashiro Sensei's exercise, we'll do it in isolation, one main strike at a time, a large minushi strike, and with Fumikomi, with the emphasis on sharp hiketsuke and a controlled stop. Don't wobble when you stop. And then you do this 3 to 5 times, and then you do it continuously. So we'll do it 3 times. From here. And then following this, we want to start to do it continuously. And then, ordinarily, I switch to Godan and do the same. But I don't have time to demonstrate it today. I need to get home. Okay. Another thing I like to do from time to time is this sort of exercise where it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Forward, backward, right, left. Try and keep your hips in the middle. Maybe 30 seconds. Okay. And you can do variations on that. You can do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, this kind of thing. Or you can go different directions. It goes bob, bob, bob. So it's like coordination practice. Yeah, this kind of footwork practice, just light. 30 seconds maybe, and at the end of it, try to land with the back foot ready, so that you can make a strike instantly from there. another way to build a habit to get that leg primed as soon as it touches the ground. Not that you have the foot land on the ground and you have to mentally change to, I must be ready to strike. As soon as those toes are there, you can go. That's the ideal. Another one that I like to do, this is the small kote men. Many people do this. So it's just semi. Okay. And then another variation, I have lines on the floor. So it's diagonal step, right, left, right, left. Okay. Right, left, right. And then at the end, a strike for the same reasons. Okay. Again, if you've got time, 3 to 5 of each. And then I'll do the same for Godan to try and chain that coordination again. Okay, usually once I've done all of that, then it's time for the last couple of items on the menu. So the first one is kind of the strike, practicing that sort of shotachi, the moment of first strike, and then transition that into a practice for some kind of hikiwaza. So full length of the dojo, I'll try to stay where the camera can see me, and then make a hikiwaza, come all the way back to get backwards footwork practice as well. Then either migi-ashi to the other side of the dojo or hidari, depending on the side of which you are. So maybe it's men, hiki men, first one, men, hiki kote, men, hiki do, and then diagonally across to get the full length, men through with zanshin, with an imaginary opponent. So we want to go through, turn and engage with them and keep our eyes on them. Again, trying to practice the coordination of all of that. It looks something like this. Yeah! And as with the other exercises, I'll do that 3 to 5 times, and I'll make sure that I do the same thing from Godan, because you get a chance to practice the transition from striking, going through with the left foot leading, transitioning to a taitari super sensei situation with a leg switch, making the hikiwaza, the backward ashisabaki to create the distance, and then transitioning back to Godan and doing the cycle again. I've worked with some variations where you can practice diagonal footwork off the super sensei, but you lose distance on the footwork going backwards because you change the angle. But you can play around with it a bit. Okay? And then usually I just finish up with some kirikaeshi. Yep. So I do one run of the Godan one, and I'll do my kirikaeshi, and then that's me, I've got to go. And then we'll move on to the strength training, the resistance training. Yeah! And then I finish up with a kirikashi for both Judan and Dodan. And everyone knows what kirikashi looks like. So without any further ado, we'll go back to a slightly less sweatier version of myself, and I'll show you some of the exercises and some of the advice I got about how to get as much as you can with reasonably few hours and minutes to throw at it. Okay, so let's get into the strength portion of the training. This is basically over the course of a year, so things kind of matured and evolved as far as which exercises were included, although most, I would say, if not all, were there from the outset. But there were some tweaks made and that sort of thing, but really the rep range went up and the amount of sets went up progressively to some degree. Not much, just a bit. So just for a bit of context, you know, on Monday night I've got Keiko in the dojo, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I'm free to do strength and conditioning training. And then on Saturday I've got Keiko again. Sunday's like family day, so nothing really happens on that. And then back to the grindstone on Monday. A lot of this is filmed in the kitchen. You'll have to excuse it because there's going to be like me in my PJs and, you know, not looking not looking presentable at all. But the point is just to show you the exercises, the approach to the exercises, how many, what you can use around the house to get it done. That's the point of this video. So Monday nights, so like I said, I've got Keiko. Tuesday nights then is chest work. So we start that off with dips. So what I use is a corner between two benches, like a return. Just place your hands shoulder, you know, sort of shoulder width apart, basically, at a comfortable position, and you're just going to lower yourself nice and controlled down as far as you can to get like a good stretch into the pec area here, either side of the chest. And then drive up sharply by like driving your elbows together. And it takes a bit of work to get this right, because it's easy to, if you go too straight up, you'll put too much focus into your triceps. So it can be a good triceps exercise as well. So you need to pitch your weight slightly forward, I would say, but not too far forward. If you pitch too far forward, then you're gonna like really damage your shoulders and things like that. So you just want to have a slight pitch forward into it, and you'll feel when it's the movement is concentrated in your chest, and the trick is just to try to keep that form. So I would generally do 3 sets of these, and I generally drop sets. So drop sets, like when you decrease the rep range each set. I'll try and do it with a high intensity, so I'll try not to rest for more than like a minute or 2 between the sets. So yeah, at my peak I was able to do this 15 reps for the first set, then drop to about 12, and then about 10. Depending on how you're feeling, how well rested you are, how much strength you have. But you know, anything in that sort of 8 to 12 rep range is good for a set, as a general rule. And you take it to, I wouldn't really count the reps as such. What I would do is I would go to the point where I think, okay, if I do one more rep, my form is going to fail, or I'm going to fail outright. So take it near to failure, but have it so that that last rep that you do, you're not really like struggling to execute the last rep. You're still able to do it fully, but you just know that that was the last time that you were going to be able to do that rep properly with the form, with this really slow eccentric going down and an explosive sharper push up. And you really just want to maximize your range of motion on that. So the other exercise then that I would do would be push-ups. Where are my push-ups? Here. Okay, so with the push-ups, very similar thing. Nice and slow going down. You don't need to go too wide with hand placement. The key thing is just keep your backside up. Keep your backside up slightly so that it's not the first thing to touch the ground. You don't want your hips to be the limiting factor. So you want to touch your chest to the ground. And that's the most important thing. Nice and slow down again, trying to get a nice good stretch into the pecs, and then driving those elbows together to focus that tension into the chest. And then just make sure you're going all the way up. If you can, pause for like a second when you touch the ground. You can also do this by setting up chairs or benches, and then you can do it's like almost like an overextended version. I can't remember what you call this, but you can that allows you, because then the ground is not the limiting factor. So if you've got a bench on either side, something stable, you can put your feet on one end, and you can do the push-up between the two benches. That's really, really handy as well. So it's another way to like squeeze more out of this body weight exercise. That being said, you can also do variations of this closer grip. Just be aware that like closer grip doesn't really do all that much for the chest. It actually starts to focus things more on the triceps again. You can do wider grip. That can work. You can place your hands like slightly higher, slightly lower. Apologies for that. Keep getting notifications. I'll have to blur all these people's names out, which is going to be a chore. Fantastic. Anyway, Tuesday night, I don't have a lot of time to film this, so Tuesday night, that would be my basic stuff, right? So just 2 exercises, and again 3 sets, push-ups, same again, like so 15, 12, and then maybe another 12, because push-ups I can generally do more of than dips. Dips are harder, but yeah, almost the same sort of rep arrangement. So then Wednesday night would be arms. So any good arm day would start with curls of some kind. Now, I used to do just standard curls. Forgive the shirt off thing. I had the dryer running in here, and this was like summertime when I recorded this. So it was pretty hot in the kitchen. Okay, so you've got your standard curls. That's great. So we'll go back to those in a second. But the crux of what I would do would be these. So I discovered these closer towards the end of my preparation for Godan. So these would be reclined curls. So you lie down on a bench. Now the whole principle behind this is that normally when you do curls standing up, you can't get the weight loaded because of the way gravity works. You can't get the weight loaded at the maximum stretch position. So that like extended eccentric end of the eccentric position, you can't get any weight loading there, right? Because your arm's straight down to the ground, and so you can't actually load the bicep. So what this allows you to do is to do precisely that, load the bicep. Now it takes a little bit away from the peak contraction, but apparently this is better for hypertrophy and basic strength than necessarily getting the peak contraction. But what you can do is use both. So I would use this to form the workout round for the bicep, and these are really hard. So I've got 8 kilos loaded onto the dumbbells here. I think I'm like readjusting the camera here or something like that. So yeah, this is a better position just to show you what I'm doing. And lie down on the bench, and you're just going to extend down and literally just do a normal curl. But first couple of times you do this, just take it easy, because you could probably hurt your shoulders if you don't control the movement. So nice and slow and controlled on the way down, and try to get a full extension here. I got better at this, where I would be able to hold that for a second, and I got a better stretch. Like I don't quite make it to fully extended here. This is the first time I tried them actually, where I recorded this. Or the first night I had tried them anyway. I think it was like my 3rd set. But I did 8 reps, and then I would do like 2 sets of 8 and then a drop set of 6, something like that. So I would do those, and then I would do a set of the kind of regular dumbbell curls. So same thing again. So with this, the advice I've always come across is try to tuck your elbows into your body. I'm not brilliant at it, but I do try. So you try and keep your elbows close to your body. And then the other thing is like try to supinate a little bit with the pinky. So like turn it a little as you come to the peak contraction at the top. With these, about, so it's still 8 kilos per side. I weigh about 70 kilos, so it gives you an idea. So 8 kilos per side. I'm not a big guy, and you know, a bit sharper coming up, but like really slow and controlled going down. So yeah, about 15, then another 15. It's exactly the same because I'm better at this exercise. It's easier. And then the last set would be like 12 or 10, depending on what I had left in the gas tank. Then from there, I would go to skull crushers, and I would use these to work the tricep. Okay, so it's basically just lay you down on a bench, and it's self-explanatory. You can see what you're doing here. So you're just dropping the dumbbell back behind the head like that. Try not to let your elbow come up to your face. So like try and keep it like in front, if that makes sense. Like so, like level with your chest. So that's why you can see me holding my tricep there. So it's just like a mental check of like, kind of keep my elbow in a nice safe place, because you can't damage your elbow doing these. These are harder. They're much harder. So when you're extending, like you're gonna get a big burn, and like you do need to watch it on like the last rep where you're approaching failure, because like you don't want to drop those and like smash something in your house, or I don't know, something like that. But anyway, like, and also your grip is going to start getting tired. But I would do, when I started these, I was only maybe able to do like 7 or 8 reps and then do like 2 sets like that. But later on, I was able to get this to 10 reps for the first set, 9 reps for the second set, and then 8 reps for the last set. So we do 3 sets of those. So that's the skull crushers. And then the last thing I would do would be these. So this is just to work your delts. So this is just lateral raises. So I personally do these sort of 45 degrees to the front, so I don't do them straight out to the side, and I don't do them straight out to the front. And now the advice I got was just pick the position that causes the least damage and interference to your shoulder joint. Now I'm only lifting about 5 kilos here because it's a very small set of muscles, and what I want to do is like try to lift up to about 45 degrees up past my shoulder height, and I want to be able to hold it there for just like a second, you know, like I want to be able to control it up there and gradually lower it down. You try not to tip your body like I'm doing here, but like, you know, it gets tough. With these, again, I think I started as 8, then dropped down to 7, then dropped down to 6. Or in fact, it was start at 7 and then drop down to 6, so I only did 2 sets. Then eventually I was able to move on to 8, 7 and 6 as 3 sets. And when I finished and I was ready for the Godan test, like so 2 weeks prior to the examination is when I stopped this training. I was able to do 10 reps, 8 reps, 6 reps. So that is the Wednesday night. Okay, and then on the Thursday night I would work on abs. So I would start with dragon flags. Okay, so you lay down on a bench and very simply use your abs to drive your legs up. You can lift your hips up like this, and then you gradually lower them down. You can start off by bending your knees a bit to make it easier to do these. And by the way, I'm holding onto the bench like behind my head. You know, that's how I'm anchoring myself. But as you get progressively better at this, you can extend your legs more and more and stay in that position more and more. So you can cheat this by making it easier by bending your legs up on the way down and then stretching them out on the way up, and then stretching them fully extended on the way down. You can cheat that way until you get stronger, and then eventually you're going to be keeping your legs like pretty much straight on the way up and the way down. So when I started these, they were really tough. I would only do 2 sets, and I think I was like only able to do like 10 per set or something like that. But very quickly your abs adapt to this sort of stuff. So when I finished up, I was doing 12 per set and 3 sets. And I found really great results compared to any other ab exercise. You do need to be careful that you're not too violent on the swing up, because you can get some lower back pain from that. So just nice and controlled. Just take your time, nice and controlled, and a full range of motion. The bench allows you to go,
all the way down to the floor. So I would say a rep is complete as soon as my heels touch the ground, and then I would be lifting again. I would try to spend as much time with my abs under loading as possible. It's really, really hard. It really pushes you, but you'll definitely see benefits from this. So that's the dragon flags. And then I would usually do 1 or 2 other exercises depending on time allowance. So one of the ones I would do is this. So you just make figure of 8s in the air basically, and you're using like your lower abs and the kind of side of those, the obliques, to kind of drive this movement. So you just basically anchor yourself on your elbows like this, chest slightly off the ground, keep your legs as extended as you can, and then just try to drive the movement from your core rather than like actually moving your hip, like your backside muscles and stuff like that. So I would usually aim for about 30, so it'd be like ich, ni, san, shi. So it's really 15 figure of 8s, something like that. Or until like I just get to failure and it's just too sore to continue. And then the last thing I would do is these, which I think are called Russian V-ups. So yeah, basically it looks kind of like a sit-up. But you're lifting your legs up and your torso up at the same time, and then you're going to basically twist up into the movement. Now here I kind of lift and then twist. Some of them I'm doing well, some of them I'm doing badly, but I would say like lift and twist at the same time, and again try and drive it from your obliques. And I would do maybe a set of 12 of these, whatever I had left in the tank. So this would always be in addition to the dragon flags. It would never be the centerpiece of the workout. This type of stuff I find is more prone to causing you lower back issues. So if you can't do these, or if you've got a bit of pain in your back, just skip these. The dragon flags are more important, Okay, so that would be my Wednesday night. Oh, sorry, my Thursday night. So then my Friday night, which would be the last one, would be back. And that would mainly consist of doing pull-ups. Now, sometimes I do the pull-ups in the daytime. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. My local park has pull-up bars, or one of my local parks anyway. So yeah, so then if I had a chance on my way home from work, I would stop there, run over to these and go and do a few sets. The same thing, try to pull yourself up, make sure your chin gets level with the bar, or if possible get your clavicle level with the bar. It depends on how strong you are, but slow down and try to get as much into like full extension. If you can, you want to get like absolutely full extension, like where your arms are locked, but it's not completely essential, but you really need to like stretch the lats out and try to drive sharply up again. And again, I would aim for, first set would be 10 to 12 reps. Second set would drop 2 from there, so 8 to 10, and then 6 to 8 for the last one. So give or take, somewhere between like say 26 and 30 reps for the day, and I'd usually be happy with that, depended really on the strength. Also, it would depend on like what I found when I use these outdoor bars, I couldn't dictate how close my hands were together, so I found these more difficult than doing them in my house. But when I did them in my house, I could really optimize how close my hands were together. So there in the park I had better like fuller range of motion. I could drop lower and I didn't have to like bend my legs. It was maybe easier to control, stop myself like swinging. But in the house, like I could really optimize how closely like my hands were put together. But because I had to do it on a door frame, it's limited by your grip because the door frame is quite sore to hold on to. But it shows that you can do it with a door frame. So I would do the pull-ups and I would just be hanging from a door frame, and same rules apply, just nice and slow and controlled. You might have to bend your legs under you so that you're not cheating and touching the ground, that sort of thing. Slow and controlled down, full extension and sharply up. But yes, my wife gets really annoyed when I do them on a door frame because she thinks it's going to break. It won't break. It's the door frame is really strong because it's actually got to be load bearing. So yeah, that's one of the things. Just realize you can often, as long as you've got something enough to grip onto with your hands, you can do these indoors. Okay, so then to complement that would be like the core back exercise. So to complement that, I would do, there was one other thing, these. And I wouldn't always do these. Oh, two other exercises actually. So this is like one where you can really get like all the small fiddly muscles that are like between your shoulder blades with this. So all you do is you're just driving down into the ground like a reverse push-up. Just drive in through your elbows and lower yourself slowly down. Yeah, and then just try and keep your back and your neck and your head all in like a straight line. So try not to like think you're lifting with your head, you know, that kind of thing. You just really got to focus by just driving your shoulder blades back and together. And you do that by driving your elbows into the ground. So I would do those, and I'd maybe do 2 sets of 12. And then the other one I would do would be dumbbell rows. See if I can find them. So you use a bench to steady yourself. This is quite important. Like, keep a hand on the bench because there's a risk of hernia if you mess these up and like twist your body too much. But basically you're just going to lift the dumbbells, and it's going to be about the height of your chest. You know, so like pull them as if you're pulling them like up to your nipples. Right, so slow on the way down. You know, like as if you're pulling a row. You know, like if you're sat on a row machine, you know, at the gym. You're trying to mimic that. So obviously you're pitched over 90 degrees because you need to use gravity as your friend here. Split your legs apart just a little just to get a solid base. Now with these I would go for, you should lift as much weight as you possibly can for these. So I've got every weight I've got available to go on one dumbbell. So this is 13 kilos. This is all the sizes that come in the box that will fit on this dumbbell. And the heaviest ones, you know, first. so yeah, this is the best I had to deploy on these. But basically this is really, really, again, good for your lats and good for those muscles kind of between the shoulder blades, but like the bigger ones, because now you're working them more like in the center of your back, not so much like up right where the shoulders are, but like lower down between the shoulder blades, so it's like a bigger subset of muscles there. But yeah, same thing, drive up sharply and then controlled and slow down, and make sure you're fully extended but without twisting your torso too much when you get down to the bottom. So yeah, about 15, 2 sets of 15 is what I would aim for. Sometimes I would do extra, like the last 10, if I was feeling strong on the night. Okay, so that was the back, and then if I got a chance, which I didn't always, I would then take both dumbbells with all the weights on them, and I would do squats, and I'd maybe do 30 of these, again 15 and 15. And I would try and get my backside down. I mean, I'm wearing jeans here, but I'll try and get my backside down lower than my knees, if that makes sense. And keep the knees going like over the toes. Yeah, and again, slow as you can down and then sharply up. There's people who can do these way lower than I can. But this is me, you know, not perfect, so. And then the last thing I would usually do was like for like calf raises. Gosh, all these notifications. Yeah, so these calf raises, and again I would go for maybe a set of 15 and sharply up and slow down. If you really want to make these harder, you can do these actually stood on a stair and do that, but I felt like with doing these with dumbbells, there's a chance you lose your balance and then you have an accident and then you're injured, and so I didn't do those. I didn't overextend on these, just did them from the ground. But all I wanted to do was just add a little extra power capacity in the calf by just giving them a little bit more loading than they usually get by just lifting me. The benefit of this is not as much as you would think, though, because in Kendo training it's lifting you and your armor, you know. So you actually put them through quite a lot of hell when you're doing your normal Kendo training. So it's one of those things, but I was like, I don't really want to leave a stone unturned, so I did them, you know, that kind of thing. But like I said, if I ran out of time, I wouldn't beat myself up if I missed these and the squats, because I got to do like my wadi Suburi, where you squat down and do the Suburi. Got to do plenty of those and plenty of high Suburi and that kind of thing, and doing it both ways, like Chudan and Godan, all that kind of stuff. I got plenty of training with that, so yeah, I wouldn't beat myself up if I missed those. And that's it, really. That's pretty much all the strength training stuff that I did in preparation for the grading. So yeah, there it is. So put that together with the footwork and the Suburi and that kind of thing. That gives you a broad picture of how I prepared for my 5th dan. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. If you've got any questions, comments, feedback, and all that kind of stuff, leave them in the comments. My last bit of parting advice is where I got my advice and where I still get more advice and try to learn and try to improve at this stuff, which I'm not an expert in at all. I'm just showing you what I know and what I did and what helped me. But if you want to use this as a start off point and then go and do your own research and take it and make it your own and develop it from there and get it to work for you, I'll put the links in the description. athleanx.com is one web page that I follow, and that's really good for like the mindset of training, the intensity, not giving yourself breaks, structuring your workouts, those sorts of things. Jeff Cavalier is very good for like coaching athletes, and so yeah, you can get some good advice there. But more lately, the guy I've been listening to is Mike from Renaissance Periodization, so RP Fitness. So I'll link their channels in the description of this video. Go and check out RP Hypertrophy. So that's Dr. Mike Israetel. He's a professor of sports science at Lehman College in the Bronx, New York. So very, very, very knowledgeable. He's mainly coming at it from a hypertrophy thing, which is muscle building. But when you listen to him talk and you study what he's got to offer, you realize that like hypertrophy and strength are really like quite closely linked. You can't really go wrong. But a lot of what he's recommending as well, it's not just that it's good for hypertrophy or muscle building, it's good at reducing the risk of injury. And that's really great for athletes because you don't want to take yourself out of training. So I highly recommend that you go and check him out. For me, he's my #1 trusted source. Then Jeff Cavalier is like my next best go-to guy. He's the guy I started watching YouTube fitness with. Mike Israetel is the guy that I really bank on these days for a lot of what I try to adopt. For instance, that reclined curl thing, which was like a game changer for my biceps. I got that from him, and yeah, haven't looked back since. Same thing with the dragon flags, although Jeff Cavalier pushes those pretty hard as well. But like Jeff Cavalier is really good for like if you want to learn about bodyweight stuff that you can do around the house. He's got some real creative ideas about how to do things where you don't have a lot of equipment, so go and check that out. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I've got to run, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.